Dr. Samira Rahman stood motionless in the crimson dust of the Martian desert, her breath fogging the inside of her helmet as she stared at what her team had just uncovered. The metallic surface gleamed under their floodlights, its perfectly geometric patterns defying everything she thought she knew about human history. "This can't be possible," she whispered, more to herself than to her research partner, Dr. James Whittaker, who was carefully brushing away centuries of dust from the structure's surface. "These markings, they're unmistakably human in origin." The excavation site, located in Mars' Hellas Planitia Basin, had initially seemed like any other potential settlement location for their Mars colonization project. But what began as a routine geological survey had turned into something that would shake the foundations of human history. Dating analysis confirms it, called out Raj Patel, their team's physicist, his voice crackling through the comm system. "The structure is approximately 300,000 years old. That's well before any known human civilization on Earth." Samira's hands trembled as she ran her scanner over the exposed section. The readings were clear. The material wasn't just metal, but a complex alloy that shouldn't have existed hundreds of thousands of years ago. The symbols etched into its surface bore an eerie resemblance to ancient Sanskrit, yet predated it by millennia. The Discovery team worked through the Martian night, their floodlights casting long shadows across the rust-colored landscape. Each layer they uncovered brought more questions than answers. The structure appeared to be part of a much larger complex, extending deep beneath the Martian surface. "Director Nakamura needs to see this," James said, carefully photographing each new section they expose. "This changes everything we thought we knew about human origins." As if on cue, their comm systems crackled with an incoming transmission from Earth. "Dr. Rahman." Director Yuki Nakamura's voice was tense with barely contained excitement. "We've detected similar energy signatures at sites on Earth. Whatever you found up there, it's not isolated." Samira felt a chill run down her spine despite her suit's temperature controls. "Where on Earth?" "The Göbekli Tepe site in Turkey, beneath the Giza Plateau in Egypt, and under the Pacific Ocean near the Yonaguni Monument. All showing the same signature as your discovery, all suddenly activating after millennia of dormancy." The implications were staggering. If these structures were connected, if they really were built by ancient humans who had achieved spacefaring capability long before recorded history. "There's more," Raj called out, his voice urgent. "I'm detecting power fluctuations from deep within the structure. Whatever this facility is, it's still operational after all this time." As the team debated their next move, none of them noticed the subtle changes taking place around them. Across the solar system, ancient machines were stirring to life, responding to a signal that had waited thousands of centuries to be heard. In her private quarters that evening, Samira reviewed the day's findings with trembling hands. The symbols they'd uncovered seemed to tell a story, one of a human civilization that had reached the stars long ago, only to vanish mysteriously. But why? And more importantly, what had they left behind? A message from Earth interrupted her thoughts. It was from Professor Hiroshi Tanaka, the leading expert in ancient languages at Tokyo University. "Dr. Rahman, we've begun preliminary analysis of the symbols you transmitted. They appear to be a form of proto-language, possibly the origin of all human writing systems. But there's something else. They contain warnings." "Warnings about what?" Samira typed back, her heart racing. "We're still working on the full translation, but one phrase keeps repeating. They will return." As Samira pondered these words, the Martian night seemed to grow darker outside her window. Their discovery was just the beginning. Somewhere out there in the vast expanse of space, something was stirring. Something that had been waiting for humanity to find these breadcrumbs from their forgotten past. The next morning, as the team prepared to continue their excavation, a message arrived from Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Network. Multiple objects of unknown origin had just appeared at the edge of the solar system, and they were moving fast, heading straight for Mars. Humanity was about to learn that uncovering the past sometimes means awakening forces that were meant to stay buried. And as Samira would soon discover, the true history of human civilization was far more extraordinary and dangerous than anyone had ever imagined. Dr. Samira Rahman had faced countless challenges in her career as an archaeologist, but nothing had prepared her for the sight before her. The massive chamber, buried deep beneath the Martian surface, stretched far beyond their floodlights' reach. Holographic displays, dormant for hundreds of millennia, flickered to life as they entered. The power systems are still functional, Raj marveled, checking his instruments. The technology, it's beyond anything we currently possess. The chamber walls displayed star charts, but they showed configurations unlike anything in humanity's astronomical records. James worked frantically to document everything, his camera whirring in the silence of their sealed suits. Dr. Rahman, Director Nakamura's voice crackled through their comms. The objects we detected entering the solar system have accelerated. They'll reach Mars in less than 48 hours. The UN Security Council is convening an emergency session. Samira's attention was drawn to a central pedestal in the chamber. As she approached, symbols began appearing above it, three-dimensional glyphs floating in the air. Professor Tanaka, are you receiving this feed? Yes, the professor's voice was tense with excitement. The symbols, they're telling a story. It appears our ancestors weren't originally from Earth at all. The holographic display shifted, showing scenes from Earth's distant past. They watched in awe as images played out before them. Vast cities that predated known civilization by hundreds of thousands of years, spacecraft crossing the gulf between stars, and something else, something that made their blood run cold. They were running from something. Professor Tanaka translated, his voice barely a whisper, a force that followed them across the galaxy. They chose Earth as a sanctuary, buried their technology, and deliberately reversed their development to avoid detection. But why? Samira asked, though she feared she already knew the answer. The approaching objects from deep space seemed to provide a chilling explanation. The facility's systems suddenly hummed with increased activity. New displays activated, showing defensive installations across the solar system beginning to power up, installations that had laid dormant since before recorded history. Director, James called out urgently, we're detecting similar activations at all the connected sites on Earth. The Giza complex is generating some kind of energy field, and something massive is emerging from the ocean floor near Yonaguni. Humanity's forgotten guardians were awakening, but would they be enough to face what was coming? The ancient humans had hidden their true capabilities for a reason, burying their advanced civilization so deeply that their own descendants forgot it had ever existed. As if responding to their presence, a new hologram materialized, a message left by their ancestors. The figure that appeared was unmistakably human, wearing clothing that somehow managed to look both ancient and futuristic. If you are witnessing this message, then they have finally found us. The figure spoke in a language that their systems automatically translated. We are your ancestors, and we have waited long for this moment. The burden we carried is now yours. The knowledge we buried will be needed for what comes next. The message continued, revealing the truth about humanity's journey across the stars, their desperate flight from an implacable enemy, and the sacrifice they made to protect future generations. They had hidden their technology and knowledge in various facilities across the solar system, protected by security systems that would only activate when they were truly needed. The defenses we left behind will buy you time, the ancient figure continued, but the rest depends on you. You must remember who you truly are. As the message ended, Samira felt the weight of centuries pressing down upon her. Outside, the Martian storm raged, while millions of kilometers away, humanity's ancient adversaries drew ever closer. Director Nakamura, she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart, we need to get this information to Earth immediately, and we need to prepare for what's coming. In orbit above Mars, automated defense platforms that had waited patiently through the ages began to power up. Across Earth, ancient facilities hidden beneath mountains, oceans, and deserts stirred to life. Humanity was about to rediscover its true heritage. But first, they would have to survive the coming storm. The objects from deep space continued their approach, their purpose unknown but their timing undeniable. Whatever had driven humanity into hiding all those millennia ago had finally caught up with them. The question now was whether the preparations their ancestors had made would be enough. As Samira and her team raced to understand the wealth of knowledge suddenly available to them, they couldn't help but wonder, had their ancestors hidden their true nature to protect them, or to protect the galaxy from them? The answer to that question might determine the fate of not just Earth, but all of human civilization. The global response to Dr. Raman's discoveries unfolded with unprecedented speed. Within 24 hours, every major government had mobilized its military forces, though against a threat this ancient and advanced, conventional weapons seemed almost laughably inadequate. In the Martian facility, Samira and her team worked tirelessly to unlock more of their ancestors' secrets. Each revelation painted a clearer picture of humanity's true history, and it was far more complex than anyone had imagined. The genetic engineering was extensive, Dr. Whittaker reported, examining the facility's biological database. Our ancestors didn't just hide their technology. They literally rewrote their own DNA, suppressing certain capabilities to maintain their cover. Professor Tanaka's voice joined the conversation from Earth. The modifications were designed to be temporary. According to these files, the dormant genes would reactivate when needed, triggered by contact with the ancient facilities. As if to confirm his words, Raj stumbled, catching himself against a wall. "Something's happening," he gasped. His vitals spiked on their suit displays, but before anyone could reach him, the readings stabilized. When he straightened up, there was something different about his movements, a new fluidity, an almost preternatural grace. "The changes have begun," the facility's AI announced, its voice resonating through their comm systems. "The reawakening sequence cannot be halted. Humanity must remember what it once was." Across Earth, similar transformations were occurring among those who had been exposed to the activated sites. Reports flooded in from Turkey, Egypt, and Japan. People experiencing sudden improvements in strength, reflexes, and cognitive ability. More significantly, they were beginning to remember things they couldn't possibly have experienced, ancestral memories encoded in their very DNA. Director Nakamura's hologram appeared in the chamber, her expression grave. "The approaching vessels have entered the inner solar system. They're not attempting to communicate, but their energy signatures match exactly with records from the ancient database. These are definitely the ones our ancestors fled from." Samira accessed another section of the facility's archives, and a detailed tactical display materialized before them. The solar system's ancient defense grid was now fully operational, a web of interconnected weapons platforms and shield generators that had remained hidden for hundreds of thousands of years. "There's something else," Samira said, studying the newly uncovered files. "Our ancestors didn't just run and hide. They were protecting something. Something so powerful that it could reshape the fabric of reality itself. They couldn't destroy it, and they couldn't let it fall into enemy hands." The facility's AI confirmed her discovery. The Nexus Key was humanity's greatest achievement and its greatest burden. Your ancestors were its creators and its guardians, charged with keeping it from those who would use it to dominate all of existence. New memories began surfacing in Samira's mind. Knowledge passed down through countless generations, waiting for this moment. She saw vast fleets engaging in battles that reshaped solar systems, civilizations rising and falling across the millennia. And at the center of it all, humanity's desperate race to protect the power they have discovered. "The approaching ships," James said, his voice tight with newfound understanding. "They're not just coming to destroy us. They're coming to finish what they started, to claim the Nexus Key for themselves." The facility rumbled as ancient machinery activated deep beneath the Martian surface. Similar activations were reported from Earth, massive structures emerging from their millennia-long slumber, preparing for the conflict to come. "We're receiving a transmission from the lead vessel," Director Nakamura announced. The message was brief but chilling. "Surrender the key and accept extinction, or watch your worlds burn." Samira felt the weight of history pressing down upon her as ancestral memories continued to surface. Their enemies, the Void Hunters, had pursued them across galaxies, destroying entire civilizations in their quest for the key. Humanity had sacrificed everything, even their own advanced nature, to keep it safe. Now the time for hiding was over. The genetic changes were accelerating, awakening capabilities that modern humans had dismissed as myths and legends. Telepathy, enhanced physical abilities, and control over fundamental forces. These weren't fantasy but humanity's birthright, suppressed for eons for their own protection. "Director," Samira said, her voice carrying the authority of countless generations, "tell Earth's governments to prepare their people. The next 48 hours will determine not just our future, but whether humanity's great sacrifice was in vain." As she spoke, the first waves of enemy scouts entered Mars' orbit, and humanity's ancient defense systems prepared to engage. The story of their species was about to come full circle, and this time, they would not run. The Void Hunters had spent millennia searching for them, never understanding one crucial truth. Humanity hadn't hidden the Nexus key somewhere in space. They had hidden it within themselves, spread across the collective DNA of their entire species. And now, as the dormant genes reactivated and ancestral memories surfaced, each human being was becoming a living key to power beyond imagination. The real question was, after hundreds of thousands of years of evolution and development on their own path, would humanity be able to control that power any better than their ancestors had? The first battle for Mars began without warning. The Void Hunters' advanced scouts struck with weapons that could tear holes in reality itself, but humanity's ancient defenses held firm. Orbital platforms that had waded through the ages responded with devastating precision, their energy weapons cutting through the alien ships like paper. In the underground facility, Samira and her team worked frantically to understand the full capabilities of their reawakening heritage. The genetic changes had spread globally now, affecting every human in the solar system. With each passing hour, more of their ancestors' memories and abilities surfaced. "The main fleet will arrive in 6 hours," Director Nakamura reported, her hologram flickering with interference from the battle above. "But we've discovered something remarkable. The transformations aren't just physical or mental. They're changing the very way humans interact with reality itself." Samira nodded, understanding flowing through her transformed consciousness. The Nexus key isn't just a weapon or a tool. It's knowledge. Fundamental knowledge about the nature of existence. Our ancestors divided it among all of humanity, encoding it into our very beings. Dr. Whittaker, who had been analyzing data from Earth, spoke up. "The ancient defense systems aren't just protecting us. They're buying time for the transformation to complete. Every human being is becoming part of something larger, something our ancestors designed but never fully implemented." The facility's AI confirmed their theories. The original protocol was never just about hiding. It was about evolution. Controlled, directed evolution on a scale never before attempted. Your ancestors seeded Earth with transformed humans, allowing natural selection and time to create beings capable of wielding the power they possessed. Through the newly awakened genetic memory, Samira saw the truth. The primitive societies that had risen on Earth weren't a regression. They were an incubator, allowing humanity to develop new perspectives, new ways of thinking that their technologically advanced ancestors had lost. Reports from Earth painted an astonishing picture. People were discovering abilities that defied conventional physics. Children were solving complex mathematical equations instinctively. Artists were creating works that could influence the fundamental forces of nature. But most importantly, a new kind of consciousness was emerging. A collective awareness that transcended individual limitations while preserving individual identity. "The Void Hunters don't understand what they're truly hunting," Raj said, his eyes glowing with newfound knowledge. "They think the Nexus key is a weapon they can possess, But it's something far more profound. It's the next step in cosmic evolution. The facility shuddered as another wave of attacks struck Mars' defenses. Above them, reality itself warped and twisted as the two forces clashed. But for every devastating weapon the Void Hunters deployed, humanity's defensive systems had a counter, as if their ancestors had spent millennia preparing for exactly this scenario. Director Nakamura's expression was both worried and hopeful. The main fleet will arrive soon, but something unprecedented is happening on Earth. The activated sites are resonating with the transformed population. It's as if the entire planet is becoming a single unified system. Samira accessed the facility's deepest archives, understanding flowing through her transformed mind. That's exactly what's happening. Earth itself was part of the defense system. Not just the hidden facilities, but the entire planet. Our ancestors terraformed it specifically to support this transformation. The truth of humanity's grand design was finally becoming clear. The regression to primitive societies, the careful preservation of certain myths and legends, the seemingly random distribution of ancient sites across the globe. All of it had been orchestrated to create beings who could comprehend and control power that their ancestors had discovered but couldn't fully master. The Void Hunters are detecting the changes, James reported, monitoring the enemy fleet's communications. They're accelerating their attack. Whatever our ancestors planned, they're trying to stop it from completing. But it was already too late. As the main fleet of the Void Hunters entered the solar system, humanity reached a critical threshold. The collective consciousness that had been building suddenly crystallized, connecting every human being in a vast network of shared awareness and purpose. In that moment, Samira understood why their ancestors had chosen this path. The power they had discovered couldn't be controlled by force or technological sophistication. It required something else, the combined perspectives of billions of minds that had developed naturally, each contributing their unique way of understanding reality. The Void Hunters had spent millennia searching for a weapon, never realizing that humanity itself was becoming something far more significant, a key not just to power, but to a new way of existing in the universe. As the enemy fleet approached Earth, humanity prepared to reveal what hundreds of thousands of years of guided evolution had created. The true power of the Nexus Key was about to be unleashed, not by ancient superbeings, but by their descendants who had found their own path back to the stars. The final confrontation began not with violence, but with understanding. As the Void Hunters' main fleet positioned itself for a system-wide assault, humanity's collective consciousness reached out across the void of space. For the first time in hundreds of thousands of years, the hunters and the hunted truly saw each other. The Void Hunters recoiled in shock as they recognized what humanity had become. The beings they had pursued across the galaxy, believing them to be mere fugitives guarding a weapon, had transformed themselves into something entirely new. Every human being was now part of a vast, interconnected network of consciousness, yet each retained their individual identity and perspective. In the Martian facility, Dr. Samira Rahman experienced the moment through billions of simultaneous perspectives. Through the collective awareness, she felt the fear and determination of Earth's defenders, the wonder of children discovering their new abilities, and the growing comprehension of what humanity had achieved. They're beginning to understand. Director Nakamura's voice echoed through both conventional communications and the new shared consciousness. The Nexus Key was never about power or control. It was about transformation. Through their unified awareness, humanity accessed the full scope of their ancestors' plan. The ancient civilization hadn't just hidden their technology. They had determined that their very way of existence was fundamentally flawed. They had discovered ultimate power, but their singular, technologically focused perspective made them incapable of wielding it responsibly. The solution had been breathtaking in its scope and patience. Instead of fighting a war they couldn't win, they had engineered their own species' evolution, creating conditions that would lead to billions of unique ways of perceiving and understanding reality. Each human being now alive contributed something essential to the whole. The Void Hunters launched their attack, their weapons capable of unmaking reality itself. But as their energy beams approached Earth, something unprecedented occurred. Reality didn't just resist their attempts to unmake it. It responded to humanity's collective will, reshaping itself in ways that even their ancestors hadn't imagined possible. "This is what the key truly unlocks," Raj whispered. His consciousness merged with a greater whole while maintaining his distinct voice. Not the power to destroy or control, but the ability to understand and reshape reality through billions of simultaneous perspectives. Dr. Whittaker's analysis confirmed what they were all experiencing. The transformed human consciousness wasn't just defending against the attack, it was transcending the very concepts of offense and defense. The fundamental forces of the universe responded to humanity's collective will, not through force, but through understanding. The Void Hunter's weapons, designed to tear reality apart, found themselves integrating into a deeper, more complex version of reality, shaped by billions of human perspectives. Their fleet, built to dominate through power, encountered a species that had evolved beyond the need for domination. In that moment of contact, something remarkable happened. The Void Hunters, exposed to humanity's collective consciousness, began to change as well. Their singular drive for power and control gave way to understanding. They had spent millennia hunting what they thought was a weapon, only to discover it was a doorway to a new way of existing. Through the transformed awareness that connected all of humanity, Samira shared a vision of the future with her team. She saw humanity spreading across the stars not as conquerors or mere settlers, but as beings who could perceive and interact with the deepest layers of reality. The ancient facilities, the hidden technology, even the defensive systems, all of them had been tools serving a greater purpose, the evolution of consciousness itself. "Our ancestors didn't hide the key," Samira announced, her voice carrying through both physical space and the collective consciousness. "They planted it, knowing it would grow into something far greater than what they possessed. We aren't just remembering who we were. We're becoming what we were always meant to be." As the transformed human consciousness reached out across the solar system, the Void Hunters' fleet hung motionless in space. Their weapons, designed to unmake reality, were absorbed into humanity's deeper understanding of existence. The hunters who had pursued humanity across the galaxy found themselves faced not with adversaries to be conquered, but with an invitation to evolve. The ancient facilities across Earth and Mars began to reconfigure themselves, their purpose fulfilled. They had protected humanity through its long evolution, and now they would serve as bridges to the stars. But humanity would explore space not as their ancestors had, seeking power and knowledge as separate things, but as beings who understood that consciousness itself was the key to unlocking the universe's deepest mysteries. Director Nakamura's final transmission captured the magnitude of the moment. "We've discovered that humanity's past wasn't about running or hiding. It was about becoming something new. Our ancestors didn't just leave us technology or weapons. They left us the blueprint for transcendence. And now, at last, we understand why." As the sun rose over Mars, casting long shadows across the ancient facility where it all began, humanity stood at the threshold of a new era. They had uncovered their past not to repeat it, but to fulfill its promise. The future that awaited them wasn't one of conflict or conquest, but of exploration and understanding on levels their ancestors had only dreamed possible. The transformation was complete, but it was also just beginning. Humanity had become not just the key to cosmic power, but to a new way of existing in the universe. And as their consciousness reached out to the stars, they carried with them not just the knowledge of their ancestors, but the wisdom earned through their long journey of rediscovery.